At a very young age, everybody experiences the fact that there are such things as images. Not just the world, but a copy of it. In time of my childhood, you could subscribe through the mails to receive picture books of artists, works of literature, or nonfiction that were considered important, etc., all through these means. And that's how I grew up, with those things. And they encouraged me to be an artist. Frequently you see something that interests you as a theme, but the visual impression as a whole isn't very good because it doesn't satisfy my sense of composition. So I immediately began to realize I couldn't just follow the reportage model directly. So I began to reconstruct, bringing the action that I'd seen to a different place, because that place seemed to suit that action more than the original place, which just visually didn't do anything. So if you look at my mimic, for example, that is not the place I saw it happen. But it's a perfectly good place for it to happen, and it could easily happen there, and at some point that aspect of it doesn't matter anymore. I think that's the freedom I wanted already from the very beginning, which is to invent something that by the means of their own making has a reality to it. In other words, I was going to try and treat photography like any art form. The actions of the people are not necessarily the most important thing. It tends to be what people's eye is drawn to first, because we're humans and we're curious about other humans. But the real energy of pictures is from the whole picture. The composition, the light, the energy in the spatial rendering of things, and not always in just what's happening. When I saw the Hokusai print in a book, it immediately struck me as how photographic it was, because it's capturing the instant when the papers are flying through the air, and I thought, that is photography. And it just immediately made me feel like I should just do that as photography. And I'm going to do an homage to Hokusai, and I'm going to make it kind of exact. And that will be interesting in itself, but what it really let me do is explode the papers into the air currents, which is a fascinating subject in itself. Usually when I do something in relation to someone else's work, it's super direct. So the thinker, you know, the guy with a knife in his back, this is directly derived from this fantastic sculpture that Dürer designed and of course never built, but it's an imaginary monument that never existed. And I thought, that's fantastic. Monuments that don't exist. I want to do one of those, and I want to show how photography can do that. I've done a lot of exhibitions and I've brought pictures together a lot of times, but there's always a different way of doing it, and that's what's kind of fascinating anytime you make a show, especially when it's a big one like this where you have a lot of possibilities. First of all, try and make each room interesting in itself, just in terms of all the different things that are brought together in it that sort of make you think how there might be this guy in relation to this guy, and this place in relation to this place. Like, I think of each room as a sort of bouquet of flowers, you know, it has a certain feeling. I feel that all of my pictures have had to measure up to a certain standard for me to even accept them. And I hope that I've made the right decision and not allowed inferior pictures to become part of what I do, even though I have to judge that over and over again. So I can't have favorites. And in the show, no, I think each room does something, and I like them. And I feel we've been successful in getting these rooms to be what we hoped they would be. And that's better than having favorite.